on, chooms? JonJonTheWise here, and I got another Cyberpunk video for you guys. Today, we're going to be talking about the Cyberpunk Red single-player mode, written by Peter Norton and Jay Gray from Artel Saurian Games. All I got to say, first off, is I really enjoy this. I enjoyed the book very much. There's a lot of great tools, and I'm about to give you guys my full review of this source book. But before we do that, if you want to support this channel, go into patreon.com/JonJonTheWise is the best way to do that. Also, giving me a like, a subscribe, a comment, all those things help immensely. Check out Tabletop Cyberpunk, my podcast. And also, we'll see you guys on the Discord. The link is in the description below if you want to join a really cool Cyberpunk community and find like-minded individuals talking about their favorite games. Head on over there. All right, let's get into the video. So before we start talking about the book, I want to talk about Peter Norton a little bit. Peter is a hobbyist. He likes to play tabletop RPGs. He likes to play solo RPGs. And if you read the foreword in the book, the basic like prologue of the book, he gives you a little bit of information about himself. And I really like everything that he's doing. He basically is just like one of us. One day he didn't have a gaming group for whatever reason, and he decided, you know what if there's a way that I can play by myself? So he went about and did that, homebrewed those kinds of things. And if you check out his YouTube channel, the link will be in the description, but it's also on your screen. Hollow Pawns Solo Saga is the name of his YouTube channel, where he plays solo RPGs of a bunch of RPGs. A lot of it is homebrew. He uses source books. He uses stuff like Augmented Reality from Paul Gallagher and other DLCs from Cyberpunk Red. And also in this book, DLCs are mentioned as well, free DLCs that you can download from the website to use in solo RPGs. So Peter really understands what it's like to play by yourself and what you need to do to get there. He lays it out really well in this book, and I think he did a really good job. And just to be transparent, I haven't tried the single player mode myself. This is just a review of the book by itself and its concepts. And I'm giving you my ideas and my recommendation based on reading the book on its own. So in this book, they basically cover all the different things that you need to do to play by yourself. There is a oracle system that basically explains things to you. Like, you have these thought experiments on what's supposed to happen, how are things supposed to go down, and the oracle assists you with like a D100 chart and tells you what to do. There are rules for combat to make things quick and easy, and my 3 goon method works just fine with the combat system that's going on in the book. There are social encounters, investigations, and you name it. Everything you need is within this book. And this book is also a really good game master tool for campaign preparation, which I'll get into later on in the video. But overall, this is a buy for me. This book is 100% a purchase that I would recommend. Even if you're not going to be playing by yourself, it has so much inspiration. It's kind of like a game master's guide as well. And it has so many cool loot tables that you can put together with all the other DLCs to play your games really well. So first off, if you're going to be playing by yourself, the book suggests that you can make a character, one character, and one character is going to be the focus of the story. If you've seen any of my other videos, I talk about doing a duet game where there is one game master and one player, and the entire campaign is focused around that player. And you basically are doing that. If you make one character by yourself, you can take multiple roles, you can mess with the character creation to give yourself more improvement points, whatever you want to do. You're the center of the story. It's supposed to be fun. You can make an OP character if you want to. It doesn't matter. The whole point is for you to have fun. So it's your style, the way you want to play. You like it combat focused, you can make it combat focused. But besides the point, if you want to play with a group, you can also make multiple characters and control all of them at the same time. It is interesting to think about making multiple characters, see how they interact with each other, they're dynamic with each other, and the book really lays out a way how you can do that. And it's not that difficult, really. You're just taking care of more than one character at a time. Combat will be super long, but it's just you at the table, so you can take your time. It doesn't matter how long combat is going to be, right? So let's talk about the Oracle. The Oracle is the book's way of describing the game master that doesn't exist, but is you and is not you. It is this esoteric game master that's there that answers questions for you. If you get to a fork in the road and you don't know exactly what to do, the Oracle is supposed to guide you to move on through that. And the Oracle will explain to you from a D100 chart exactly how it will go down. and you will basically tell the Oracle, like, how likely is this thing going to happen? How likely is this police checkpoint going to appear on the road on my way to the combat zone? Is it highly likely because the police always put checkpoints right outside the combat zone to protect from people coming in from the combat zone and to see who's going out just so they can log it? I would say that it's certain that the police are going to have a checkpoint there because they want to make sure that they're protecting whether people are coming in or out and what's going on, and they're protecting the perimeter of the city. So if they're certainly going to be coming out, then there is a chart for certain things that are going on, and the Oracle will tell you what to do. You roll a D100 and it tells you whether no, it won't happen, no with complications, or it's complicated, it could happen, it couldn't happen, it's kind of in the middle, or yes, it will happen, but there are complications, or yes, actually 100%, no complication, it's going to happen. And explains to you in the book exactly what those different factors are. And the more certain something is, the more likely it's going to happen. So things are more certain than yes with complication, or yes is more likely to appear. So yes, there is that checkpoint. That checkpoint's going to be there. Don't expect anything other than the checkpoint to be there. So basically, it tells you exactly what's going to happen. And when you get to the checkpoint, you can consult the Oracle once again to see what the police do when you're in that situation. Do they want to search your car? How likely is that? Well, what's your reputation? Do they check your ID? How likely is that? You know, those are the kinds of questions that you'll answer. So what I just talked about are check questions, like the skill checks that will happen. We'll get more into that a little bit later. And what I talked about with the yes with complications and all that were called closed questions. But there are open questions. Open questions are a little bit harder to figure out, and you want to kind of get a little bit of inspiration. You need creativity in this. The creativity is basically a thought experiment. You're asking yourself, what can happen? What are the different factors? And it's not as black and white as yes or no. So you need some kind of inspiration to lead you down a direction. Like, for example, you get past that police checkpoint, you're in the combat zone, and you're wondering, what's going to happen in the combat zone? It's a big place. All kinds of things can happen. Is it going to get violent? Is it not going to get violent? You know, what are there places where I can hide? So there's so many things and factors that go on in the combat zone that it's really hard to just ask one question. So you need a little bit of guidance. You need a little bit of inspiration. So the book offers this verb, noun, adjective chart, and it's basically a D100 of all three of those things, one for each. And it just gives you 3 words and it just blurts it out to you. You take those 3 words and you decide for yourself what applies to the combat zone. For example, you might get the verb of alert, and you might get the noun of cube hotel, and you might get the adjective of encrypted. So as you're going through the combat zone, you see a cube hotel, and there are some people outside of it trying to get into it. It's a padlock. It's an old combat zone cube hotel, and you see them trying to break into it. Do you interact with them? Do they look at you? Do they see you as a threat? Do they think that you're going to mess their ideas up? These are all questions that you'll be asking yourself as you get there. That chart that we just rolled on gives you a scenario to work with. You might decide, hey, this isn't why I'm in the combat zone. I don't want to have anything to do with them, but you know, maybe they saw me as a better opportunity. They're fiddling with this lock and they're like, why are we fiddling with this lock? There's 3 of us. There's 1 of this guy. Let's just go after this guy. We'll take his car. We'll take his stuff. And then boom, you have a combat encounter that came out of nowhere. So let's talk about investigations. Investigations is another portion of the book. So this is where we talk about skill checks. You basically set a number of skill checks that need to be passed for you to be able to go through this investigation and figure out exactly what's going on. Now, this is where I kind of have a little bit of a criticism, because for the skill checks, you are the one that sets the difficulty value. There isn't a chart that you roll on based on likelihood, like the yes, no with complications chart that the Oracle will give you. You as the player decide how difficult a skill check should be. I think that it's fine. It's okay. I just wish that the book would offer that to you, because that's something a game master gives to their players with the the players having no idea about it. They have no idea how difficult it is to break into a door. They have no idea how difficult it is to lie to somebody and deceive them and persuade them into doing something. That's where the game master comes in. So this is a gap in information that the game master can cover, and I wish the Oracle would have done that for you. Once again, I haven't tried the single player RPG myself. I haven't set the DVs myself. We'll see how it goes whenever I play. I just wish personally that the DVs were set by the book and it wasn't something that I came up with myself. And the passing of the skill checks don't necessarily have to be passed exactly, like pass or fail. And if you don't get 5 of them, then you fail the investigation. Obviously, if you succeed, it's pretty black and white. You move forward. If you fail, then you fail with consequences. You lose resources. You fail with you succeed forward with complications. The guards are alerted by you. You get through the checkpoint. The police let you through. They don't really bother you. But maybe one of the cops there informs a gang that they're working with, like, hey, there's easy prey coming into the combat zone. They just left the border. It's a corrupt cop that sees you, sized you up, and because you failed a skill check, they're like, oh, you know what? Let me give a call to this booster gang. They'll give me a cut of whatever they get from this guy. So basically, right when you get to an investigation, before you set the parameters of how easy the investigation is going to be, you basically tell yourself, like, what's the goal of this investigation? What did I want to do when I get there? Is my character aware of what's going to happen? Are they aware that they'll be able to get something out of this investigation? Are they aware that the police are going to be cooperative at this checkpoint? Or are they going to be hostile? Is that something that they knew beforehand? Is that something that they didn't know beforehand? And how is that going to affect the skill checks going forward? So now let's talk about social encounters, which are really important in Cyberpunk, maybe more than any other RPG that I've ever played. And the social encounters here exist. It gives you guidance. And generally, it's just good guidance for a game master, the kind of advice that's in here. It lets you know about some NPCs are expendable. They just show up one time, like a bartender. They're there, they're a quick personality, and then they're gone. Or there's a key character that has a little bit more backstory, is there for a longer time, has a longer spotlight, and you might have to flesh out more things about them. And then there's the characters that are absolutely vital to the story. They'll be remembered. They need to be fleshed out completely, and they have to have their own personalities and their own constraints that you have to keep in mind when you're going through the story. So the only problem with solo play is this exactly, is the social encounters. The social encounter, just like investigations, is gamified, basically. You have to pass a certain amount of skill checks and get past things to get people to do what they want to do. There is no tit for tat. There's no improvisation. There's no yes and, because there's no other player there for you to work off of. So this is the biggest downside, in my opinion, for playing in single player mode, is the social encounters, which I just mentioned earlier is really important for Cyberpunk Red. I think it's one of the key factors that makes it one of the best RPGs out there, is how the social encounters really, really take precedent over combat encounters. I've had 2 sessions in a row with no combat encounters, 0 complaints from my players, because we were able to work together to make these awesome social encounters. And in the book, because you're playing by yourself, there's nobody to interact with. There's nobody to bounce off of but yourself. So you're really just rolling on a chart, gamifying it, getting skill checks through, and basically seeing, whatever you can do to get through the situation. So combat encounters and net running is what I'll talk about next. In the book, it's very simply laid out. There's actually a quick and dirty way of doing combat, which I actually enjoy. You get a bunch of dice, you roll it together, and then it tells you whether the encounter went through or not. And that's a really quick and easy way to do it. In my opinion, if you're playing by yourself, there's no real reason for you to go through it so quickly unless you really don't like combat. But, using the My 3 Goon method, playing by yourself, taking your time, you can have a lot of fun. You can have miniatures, you can have a board, you can do everything that you want. And you basically think for the enemies and you think like what's the best possible thing that they can do in the combat encounter to counter what I'm trying to do? What's the best thing I can do in this combat encounter to counter them? And what is going to flesh out in this combat encounter? So you also want to think to yourself, like, what's the reason for this combat? There has to be some kind of overarching reason to want to get into it. And of course, that's just general good advice for a game master. These, like, combat encounters that just appear for whatever reason, just so the players can get it done. I'm not a fan of that. I like to give a little bit of a reason. Even if you're getting mugged on the street, it's like you're getting mugged on the street because you're in the wrong part of town and you're making a scene, and this is the consequences of what's going on. And the book offers something that I personally do in my own homebrew games that I haven't really seen the core rulebook offer, which is morale. Why would the enemies keep fighting if they see a bunch of their buddies getting killed? Wouldn't they just run away or give up or surrender or something? And that's what the book offers you. It offers you like basically a D100 or D10 chart. I don't remember exactly, but it gives you some kind of chart to determine whether these guys continue fighting. Are they dumb little street rats where you killed two of their guys and they're like, dude, this is not worth it. I'm not going to die here. I'm going to run away. Or are they hardened veterans that are like, I'm here, I have honor, I'm going to fight to the last man. This is what I've been paid to do, and I don't care if I die, I'm going out in a blaze of glory. Those are the kind of questions that you ask yourself as well. That's something I do in my own personal homebrew game, in my own personal games. I do that as a homebrew thing, and it's worked out just fine. And I recommend it highly. Like I said, this book offers a lot of good game master guides. There is another really cool thing that's offered in the book called the solo clocks, and it's basically like a timer that determines whether something will happen. So basically what you do is you get a dice pool. The book says that you should use D6s, you can use D10s, it's higher probabilities. But basically you put a bunch of dice together, you roll them all at once. Every time you get a 1, you take that dice out of the dice pool, and that's your clock. As you're going, something will trigger you to roll it. Maybe you've done you decide that after 3 skill checks, I'm going to roll on the clock, or after 5 minutes, I'm going to roll on the clock. And anytime you roll a 1, you take the dice out of the pool until finally all the dice are gone from the pool, and that's when it triggers. That's when the whatever you decided to happen triggers. I think that's just really cool in general. I'm definitely going to be taking that into my campaign games. I'm going to be telling my players like, hey, this is a 5d6 clock situation. Once the clock hits 0, the bomb's going to explode. So get the hell out of there. And as they get through the combat encounters, they have their conversations. They're in the elevator. When they get to the elevator, I roll on the clock. They get out of the elevator. They're going to the next elevator. It's out of order. They have to take the stairs. Roll on the clock. And these are the kind of things that I would do to basically create this situation of tension, that the clock is ticking down. They can physically see the clock ticking down. They see how many dice are left in the pool. And generally just a really cool thing to do, in my opinion. Now, the next part of the book is the mission builder, which I think is just really good to have anyway. That's why I mentioned this book being a really good game master guide as well. It's a guide on how to build missions that you can take into your regular campaigns. Who's hiring, what's the mission, define the focus, determine payment, add a twist. All things that I do in my campaign preparation when I'm playing with my players anyway. I want to make sure that the twist is one of those most important things, like go there, find the guy, kill him, get paid. But we got to add something else. There has to be some kind of complication there. Go there, find the guy. The guy is not the guy that you thought he was going to be. He's actually a nice guy. He's a victim of the person that hired you. Do you feel bad? Are you still going to kill him? That's the twist. Does morality come into this? That's a twist that I offer to my players. And it's like, they got to really think, yeah, we got to get paid, but I feel bad killing this guy. He didn't deserve it. He's just a nomad. You know what I mean? And I worked for this stupid corporate suit that I didn't even like in the first place. And now he's telling me to kill this innocent guy just so I can get paid. Do I think to myself, hey, this is Night City. It is what it is. Bam, just get the money, get paid. Or do I think to myself, like, you know what? I'm not going to be another corporate shill. And, let's I know he's going to come after me with all his resources because I'm not going to do the job. I might take a hit to my reputation, but I might make a really good ally with this nomad because I just don't feel right taking him out. He didn't deserve it. They highly recommend that you get the Night City Atlas, which is a free DLC. It's basically your guide to Night City before the Night City source book comes out, and I highly recommend it. It's one of the greatest things out there, and it can give you an idea of what's going on in what part of town. Pair that with Night City weather, you know what the weather's like. There's even all kinds of other DLCs that you can download to help you and guide you, and the book tells you exactly what DLCs you can use. Now, from page 32 onward, it's just a bunch of lists and tables that any game master could use. And I'm talking about anybody. This is the epitome of having everything you need in one book. It's got names, it's got random encounters, it's got encounters for the different places you are in Night City, it's got the Oracle system, it's got random loot that you will find off of people based on what kind of NPC they are. If they're a hardened mook, then they would have better loot. So there's a D100 chart of the kind of loot that they would have. I'm telling you that just for these lists and tables, this book is a 100% buy. It's a 100% purchase. If you never plan on doing a single player RPG, just having all these lists and tables is going to be really good. The noun, verb, adjective chart is amazing. Just roll on that, make a random mission, have zero prep. Zero prep. I'm talking zero. Get together with your buddies and put it together and be able to make the different missions that you need. And what kind of charts are there? There's charts for everything. There's charts for roles, sights and sounds, places to live, specific locations, factions, corpse loot, like I mentioned, one of my favorite, generating mission plots, random encounters, names of people, cliffhangers, developments, climaxes. I mean, all the things that you would need for campaign prep and to play by yourself, it's all available within this book. And like I said before, I highly recommend it. So the only major issue with all these lists and tables is the same major issue you get with all lists and tables, which is it's too time consuming to fumble through them in real time when you're playing your game to determine the things that you want to do. So I recommend you try to get like some kind of cheat sheet with maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 pages max of the most important tables that you find in this book, photocopy them, attach them to your GM screen, have them there handy, and be able to roll on them. But to go through the book and flip through the pages while you're playing the game, you're going to be taking way too much time. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it at all. What I would recommend if you are going through these tables, is only use it for solo play, which is exactly what the book is all about. If it's just you at the table, it doesn't matter how long it takes to flip through the tables and lists. But if you're using it for your campaign, use it before the campaign mission, before the session, before you guys get together. This is pre-campaign prep. You need an NPC's name, their kind of motivations and everything. You have all the time in the world in your prep to roll on these charts and to try to figure things out. And remember, you don't always have to roll on the chart. You can just pick things. It's whatever you think is fun, whatever you think is interesting, because that's ultimately what's most important when you're playing these games, is to have fun and to tell interesting stories. So I would highly recommend, if you're playing by yourself, no problem, hit these tables, hit all the DLCs, surround yourselves with 1,000 books and miniatures and terrain, and just have at it and, play with yourself. But if you're playing with a bunch of people in a campaign, I would highly recommend that you maybe just keep a couple of these things. Obviously you want the morale chart there, or just memorize the morale chart. The loot chart is really good. Having the loot that you get off of random bodies. I like to have like 1 or 2 special pieces of loot in a combat encounter that I think my players would be interested in. But other than that, if they're like, hey, I loot this body, what do they got? I'm like, I got nothing for you, dude. Ammo, a couple creds, you know what I mean? Some Eurobucks and a toothpick. I don't know. That's the kind of stuff they have on them. But if I have this chart, I don't have to worry about that. I just roll on the chart and I have exactly what I need. All right, Chooms, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. That is my review of the single-player RPG mode for Cyberpunk Red. If you want to go and support Peter, go to Hollow Pond's Saga Solo Saga on YouTube. Make sure you give him a like and a follow. He actually demoed his way of playing Cyberpunk Red solo mode. He takes his time with it. He has other RPGs like Lancer and Daggerheart that he was also playing solo. So this guy is the solo RPG master. And with the help of Jay Gray, they put it together and they made a really cool book here. So I recommend that you check out his YouTube channel as well as purchase this book. Thank you to Artelsorian Games for sending me an advanced copy of the book so I can review it for this video. I really appreciate everything they do. I appreciate you, Chooms, for supporting me, and I hope you guys have wonderful games. Have fun. Bye.